Assalamualaikum. My name is Rosham Afiq bin Roslan. I am from Group 5. The title of the group present is Possession Sensor. Introduction of Possession Sensor. A possession sensor is any device used for measuring the distance traveled by a body starting from its reference position. It measures linear or angular position in reference to a fixed point or arbitrary reference. The sensor can also be used to detect the presence or absence of an object. Description: Possession sensor. Possession sensor is a sensor that detects an object position. A possession sensor may indicate the absolute position of the object, its location, or its relative position displacement in terms of linear travel, potential angle, or third-dimensional space. Types of possession sensor. The overall intent of a possession sensor is to detect an object and relay its position through the generation of a signal that provides positional feedback. This feedback can then be used to control automatic responses in a process, sound alarms, or trigger another activity detected by the specific application. Next, generally speaking, possession sensor may be divided into three broad classes that include linear possession sensor, rotary possession sensor, and angular possession sensor. There are several specific technologies that can be employed to achieve this result, and the different types of possession sensor reflect these underlying technologies. The primary types of possession sensor include the following. First, potentiometric possession sensor, resistance-based. Second, inductive possession sensor. Third, eddy current-based possession sensor. 4. Capacitive possession sensor. 5. Magneto-resistive possession sensor. 6. Hall effect based magnetic possession sensor. 7. Fiber optic possession sensor. 8. Optical possession sensor. 9. Ultrasonic possession sensor. Next is technical specification of subject matter. Total possession sensor in Hall effect technology, Halo ND Shaft version, model 981HE. Key benefits: continuous drift-free performance over the life of the device. Second, all electrical angles available up to 360 degrees, no dead band. Third, available in spring-loaded versions. 4. Halo shaft or D-shaft version available. 5. Designed for use in harsh environments. 6. Extremely easy and fast mounting. Applications: First, foot pedal possession sensor. Second, throttle possession sensor. Third, steering possession sensor. 4. Drive-by-wire. 5. Lift and shuttle possession sensor. 6. Tilt control and tilt positioning feedback. 7. Suspension system possession sensor. Feature: First, accurate linearity down to ±0.5%. Second, easy mounting principle. Third, non-contacting technology, Hall effect. 4. Model dedicated to all applications in harsh environments. Lastly, spring-loaded types available.
A throttle position sensor is a sensor used to monitor the air intake and engine. The sensor is usually located on the butterfly spindle shaft, so this is directly monitor the position of the throttle. More advanced forms of the sensor are also used. For example, an extra closed throttle is completely closed. Some engine control unit also control the throttle position by electronic throttle or drive-by-wire system. Related to the TPS are accelerator pedal sensor, which often include a wide open throttle sensor. The accelerator sensor are used in electronic throttle or drive-by-wire system, and the most common use of wide open throttle sensor is for the kick-down function of automatic transmission. Modern day sensor are non-contact type. This modern non-contact TPS include Hall effect sensor, inductive sensor, magnetoresistive, and other. Non-contact type TPS work on the principle of Hall effect or inductive sensor, where generally the magnet of inductive loop is dynamic part which is mounted on the butterfly valve throttle spindle shaft gear, and the sensor signal processing circuit board is mounted within the ETC gearbox cover and is stationary. When the magnet inductive loop mounted on the spindle, which is rotated from the lower mechanical stop, there is a change in the magnetic field for the sensor. The change in the magnetic field is sensed by the sensor and the voltage generated is given as the input to the ECU. Normally, a two-pole rare earth magnet is used for the TPS due to their high temperature required in the underhood physical environment. The magnet may be of diametrical type, ring type, rectangular, or segment type. The magnet is defined to have a certain magnetic field that does not vary significantly with time or temperature.
Testing procedure of throttle position sensor. The throttle position sensor is a power resistor on the throttle body that feed data to the engine control unit regardless of how open the throttle valve is. It should constantly be checked to see if the throttle position sensor is working correctly or malfunctioning. However, it might cause inappropriate engine airflow if not checked regularly. How do I reset my throttle position sensor? The easy way to reset your throttle position sensor is to unhook the negative cable from your battery up to 5 minutes or to remove the fuse for your engine control module. In general, there are 4 easy steps on how to test a TPS sensor with a multimeter. Step 1 is a mine for carbon build-up. Step 2, connect TPS to ground wire. Step 3, connect TPS to reference voltage. And step 4 is check TPS generating proper signal voltage. Now I want to explain a little bit about the step. For step 1, is a mine for carbon build-up. Remove the cleaning assembly by opening the hood. Check for impurities or carbon build-up on the throttle plate and body walls. Clean it off with a carburetor cleaner or a clean rag until it is spotless. Step 2, throttle position sensor, connect to ground wire. Suppose your TPS is connected to the ground, disconnect it and inspect the connection for dirt, dust or contamination. Set the digital multimeter voltage scale to route 20 volt. Switch on the ignition key once the voltage has been established. Connect the remaining lead to the position battery portion. Then connect the black test line to the 3 electrical terminal and execute the throttle position sensor test. There are problems with wiring if the terminal don't read 1 voltage. Step 3, TPS is connected to the reference voltage. First, connect the multimeter black lead to the ground connection on the throttle position sensor. After that, switch the ignition to the on position without starting the engine. Link the red test lead to the others to terminal after you have finished this step. The throttle position sensor function properly after the terminal read 5 volt. Step 4. TPS generating the proper signal voltage. After complete the first testing process, you must complete further step to check if the TPS sensor test was successful and provide the right voltage. Black probe the connection signal and ground connection. Connect your red lead of the multimeter to the signal wire and the black test lead to the ground wire. Turn on the ignition key but do not start the engine until the throttle is completely closed. The throttle position sensor function properly if the digital multimeter read between 0.2 and 1.5 volt. The digital multimeter should jump to 5 volt when opening the throttle plate. If the throttle position sensor test does reach 5 volts, it's mine to replace it.
So finally, the conclusion is paying attention to symptoms occurring in your vehicle will help you find a problematic TPS before it gets to be a serious issue. Replacement is a simple, inexpensive process, so there is no reason to drive with faulty TPS. Driving with a bad TPS is highly dangerous. It is your advantage to know how to check it yourself so you can determine if you should take your vehicle to a mechanic. Knowing whether your TPS is bad will also help your mechanic dive into the problem rather than run a lot of expensive diagnostic.